here for the first time. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. What are your names?
Vinay Sri Gauranga Das.
Sorry?
Vinay Sri Gauranga Das.
Vinay Sri Gauranga Das. Hari Bol. Where are you from, Prabhu?
Mayapur.
Mayapur. Prabhu, then you should give the lecture. So you are here on a holiday or vacation, or you are trying to establish a new dham here?
No, she's studying in Durham, so we thought of coming and visiting.
Dharam.
Yeah.
Okay. What is your name, Mataji?
Mandakini Devidasi.
Sorry?
Mandakini Devidasi.
Mandakini Devidasi. What are you studying, Mataji?
Studying English.
English. Okay. So, doing your masters? Okay. Okay. So I am an assistant professor at Durham University, but I am into engineering. So yes. So we have another devotee family in Durham. So next week onwards, you can come to ISKCON Durham. We have Balaram Prabhu over here. He's from Durham. So yes. Okay. Very nice, both of you for coming in. So hopefully we have your association for a longer time. So before I can actually go to the session, I have a small icebreaker question for everyone. So this icebreaker question is basically sets the tone for the entire lecture. So the icebreaker question is, within your day-to-day activities that you ought to do or to perform, which one you would like to skip and why? Yes, Mataji. Robin.
It's the best one to do, but I really don't like to do it. Cleaning the floor.
Clean the floor.
It's so nice afterwards, but it's like, oh, I gotta clean it out.
Why do you don't want to do, Mataji?
I have no idea. Well, I have some idea now. I have some idea.
Anybody else? Nikunj. Homework. That's the most hardest part, isn't it, Nikunj? Boring. So you don't want to do your homework because it's boring. That's the reason. So, yes. I don't want to cook from tomorrow, Nikunj. Okay. Anybody else? No?
Sleeping.
Sleeping. Wow, Prabhu. Why, Prabhu? You don't want to sleep?
More time.
More time. Who is stopping you to not to sleep, Prabhu? Tell me that person. I am going to. Okay. Anybody else? Prabhu, you want to answer?
Reading in the afternoon.
Reading in the afternoon.
Enhancing my learning. Sometimes I skip and sleep instead
Sleep.
in the afternoon. So I should be reading and learning instead of sometimes.
To start places, Prabhu. So you can sleep more. Maybe Prabhu can do more activity. Okay. Anyone else? No? Anybody? Yes, Prabhu. Sorry, Prabhu. What did you say?
Thinking about the good health of the person who is not well.
Okay. So overthinking. Okay. Vrinda Mataji is like there. So she knows.
I just don't want to do anything.
Ramesh Prabhu.
Work.
Work. You don't want to work at all.
No, as in 9 to 5. I don't want to.
9 to 5. Oh, no. Okay. Mayapuris.
It needs, I think, sleeping also. I feel if I could skip it, then I would be more productive and be able to do more, and this is my personal experience.
Mataji? No?
Anything that like taking care of anything that takes extra time away from what we need to do. That makes sense. Anything like some going here, going there, like small things like that.
Okay.
Miscellaneous activities.
Miscellaneous
Yes.
activities. Okay. Anybody else? Mamata? Child care. Okay. So yes, thank you for your answers. So we'll get into the session, but before that we'll have a small kirtan of Jai Radha Madhav. Subsequently later we'll have the discussion. So please follow me. Jai Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunda Bihari. Jai Radha Madhava,
Karen, do you need help to give it up?
I think I'll be okay actually.
Yeah, we got caught.
So we discussed about activities which you want to skip. So in Bhagavad Gita, there is a dedicated discussion between Arjuna and Krishna about different activities we perform, what activities we perform, what activities we should not perform. So in these regards, throughout chapter 3 there is a huge discussion of Karma Yoga. Subsequently later, in chapter 18, Krishna actually is concluding to Arjuna about the main important aspects of the discussion. So if anybody is has any experience in writing some reports or something like report theses or research documents, we have a session called chapter for conclusions, right? So in conclusions, what we tend to do is we take out the cream of the entire work and we bring out the important aspects. So if you go to 18th chapter, Krishna tries to give a recap to Arjuna about different important aspects. So like we have many very important sloka like Manmana Bhava Madbhakto Madhyajimam Namaskuru. So this sloka is repeated again in 18th chapter. So same way, there is one sloka which Krishna repeats in 18th chapter, which is also there in 3rd chapter. The sloka is chapter 3, text 35. So this sloka is like this. Shreyan swadharmo vigunaha paradharmat svanustitat swadharme nidanam shreyaha paradharmo bhayavaha. So the translation is, it is far better to discharge one's prescribed duties, even though faultily, than others' duties perfectly. Distraction in the course of performing one's own duty is better than engaging in others' activities. For to follow others' path is dangerous. So if anybody wants to repeat, or maybe you can start repeating. Shreyan swadharmo vigunaha paradharmat svanustitat swadharme nidanam shreyaha paradharmo bhayavaha. Shreyan swadharmo vigunaha paradharmat svanustitat swadharme nidanam shreyaha paradharmo bhayavaha. Anybody wants to try?
Shreyan swadharmo vigunaha paradharmat svanushtitat swadharme nidhanam shreya paradharmo bhayavaha.
Anybody else?
Shreyan swadharmo vigunaha
Shreyan swadharmo vigunaha
paradharmat svanustitat
paradharmat svanushtitat
swadharme nidhanam shreyaha
swadharme nidhanam shreya
paradharmo bhayavaha.
paradharmo bhayavaha.
Anybody else? Mataji's, anyone? Shreyan swadharmo vigunaha paradharmat svanustitat swadharme nidanam shreyaha similarly, there is another sloka in 18th chapter 47th sloka. It is Shreyan Swadharmo Vigunaha Paradharmat Swanustitat Swabhava Niyatam Karma Kurvan Napnoti Kilbisham. The translation is, it is better to engage in one's own occupation, even though one may perform it imperfectly, than to accept another's occupation and perform it perfectly. Duties prescribed according to one's nature are never affected by sinful reactions. So anybody wants to try this sloka? No.
Shreyan Swadharmo Vigunaha
Shreyan Swadharmo Vigunaha
Paradharmat Swanustitat
Paradharmat Swanustita
Swabhava Nityanam Karma
Svabhavaniyatam Karma
Kurvan Apnoti Pisvan Kibhisam
Kilvisam Kurvan Apnoti Kilvisam. Anybody from Mataji's? Shreya Swadharmo Vigunaha Paradharma Swanushita Svabhava Niyatam Karma Kurvan Apnoti Kilvisham. Thank you, Mother. Just have a short prayer. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So if you see these two slokas, Krishna is specifically telling to convey a message to Arjuna. In the first sloka, which is discussed in chapter 3, Krishna is telling that one needs to perform or discharge one's prescribed duties. He's telling, even though one performs faultily, it is better than performing others' duties perfectly. And he specifically mentions distractions in the own course of performing one's duty is better than engaging in others' duty, because it is far more dangerous. So in Kali Yuga, we are so much entrapped in this bodily consciousness that we tend to always look at others' behavior and try to find a fault rather than looking into our own activities. So Krishna is here telling to Arjuna, you don't worry about others, you follow your own activities. So the backdrop of this discussion to Arjuna was a Kshatriya by nature, and at the time of the battlefield, he becomes perplexed. He doesn't know what is his duties. He withdraws from his activities and wants to leave the battlefield. So he wanted to run away from the battlefield and escape from his duties. So same way, in our day-to-day lives, so many times we want to skip activities, or we don't want to do activities which are ought to be done. We think nothing will happen, right? Or it may not be so It may not be a big issue of missing out any activity which I am out to perform. Krishna over here is telling that one needs to perform the activity in any way in the previous slokas, but here he specifically mentions that one needs to discharge one's own prescribed duties. So it is very much important for an individual person who is seeking self-realization to understand what are the duties he needs to perform and what are the duties is not to be performed. Secondly, in the 18th chapter, he tells the same thing in a different words, but meaning the same thing. But the last sentences, what he's saying, duties performed or duties prescribed according to one nature are never affected by sinful reactions. So this is a very important statement what Krishna is telling. That if we perform the activities, any activities which is prescribed to the nature of an individual, even though it is faulty, it is still better, but these activities are not going to encounter any sinful reactions. So this is a very, very important statement as to how one can actually not perform any sinful activities. So, as a practicing devotees, we should be very much be interested to understand what are these duties. So there are different kinds of wordings people tend to do use for this prescribing or defining these duties. But the nearest definition what we can consider of these duties is dharma. Okay, so if you see many people, many organizations start talking about sanatana dharma, okay, eternal dharma, what we speak. If you see one cow going near the temple, somebody takes a picture, this is sanatana dharma. Okay, if you see a dog circumambulating the temple, they take a photo or take a video, this is sanatana dharma, right? If you have a movie, in movie some film star is wearing a tilak and he is putting a sword on a villain or something, this is like sanatana dharma. What exactly is dharma? So people should be aware what exactly sanatana dharma is. If without that, we can keep giving different definitions for this dharma and we can be in that illusion that I am following sanatana dharma, right? So, how do we understand dharma? So, anybody wants to give their meaning, what they understand about dharma? Yes, bro.
Dharma, right? Yeah, is it the essence of what something is? So, for example, if that ceases to exist, then the thing ceases to exist. So, the dharma of sugar is to be sweet.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good, wonderful. Anybody else?
So the natural affliction.
Natural?
Not affliction.
Affection.
No, affliction.
Affliction.
Natural is one's natural affliction.
Yes, yes. Good, good. Anybody else?
What duties?
Duties. Okay.
What should we do?
What should we do? Any more thoughts? Yes, Mataji.
Activities that we do in our daily life.
Activities what we do in daily life.
Sorry, is it law?
Law. Okay. That's all? Okay. So Kiran Prabhu and Robin Mataji were very near, or in fact they are near to it, but we need to add more flavor to it. So if you take a look at this photo, we have water flowing through. So just like Kiran Prabhu said, there's a natural characteristic of a sugar is to give sweetness, right? So if you take sugar over here, If you take sugar in India, if you take sugar anywhere else, it is going to give a sweetness. So that is a natural duty or natural essence of that particular material. So same way, if you take a water, water in a natural state, it starts to flow. So what happens is, we tend to associate a nature or a particular characteristic of material elements like sugar or fire or water, and as soon as we term this fire, water or air or some other earthly material, we start providing a characteristic to it, right? So this is the nature or behavior of that particular element. So that is, in a way, its dharma, right? Or its behavior, natural behavior. So if we extend that little bit more, that from individual elements like water or fire, if we extend to living entities, okay? So let's say there is a situation. Okay, next slide I am going to give a situation. What do you think will happen? Okay? There is a toddler sitting in a room with a tiger. There is a toddler sitting in a room with a cow. What do you think happens? Nikunj?
The tiger eats the toddler and the cow cares for the toddler.
Wow. Why? It may be other way, no? This is Kali Yuga, anything can happen.
Because the tiger is a carnivore and the cow is a herbivore.
Right. What if the tiger identifies itself as a cow?
That just be strange.
Strange, right? So, what's happened here is we naturally associate a behavior of a particular living entity based on its nature, right? So if as soon as we see, okay, somebody tells, okay, in that room there is a tiger, can you go spend some time with that? You immediately tend to say no, right? Same way, if I say, okay, there is a cow, can you go pet it? You don't mind it, we tend to go. Because a tiger is naturally aggressive, whereas cow is considered to be very mild, very you say a good, nice, pet. So, if you take these two distinct animals like tiger or a cow, it is showing a natural behavior. So that itself is a kind of a dharma or a natural characteristics of a particular body. In this case, a tiger or a cow. So, if you are able to relate back, water has a natural tendency to flow, or a sugar has a natural tendency to produce sweetness. Same way, a tiger is naturally a carnivore, or a cow is naturally a more herbivore and a pleasant animal. So, nature has given a wide range of animal species. So the first kind of dharma, which what we want to talk over here is Pashu dharma. Pashu means animal, dharma is against the characteristic of that particular animal. So what is Pashu dharma? Do you know who is the person in the center? Sir David Attenborough, right? So I don't know about how many people know about him, but for me, when I was growing up, I used to see a lot of his documentaries. Sir David Attenborough is a famous, zoologist, what you call. Along with Sir Attenborough, there was another person called Steve Irvine. Steve Irvine was Australian zoologist, right? So these both zoologists are so well renowned that they tend to document the natural behavior of almost all observable animal species across the globe, right? So for me, it was a favorite kind of a hobby. Instead of seeing a opera or a movie or something like that, I used to put on National Geographic channel or Discovery channel then, and I used to watch this. So my mom used to shout at me like, "Why are you watching a tiger? Or lion jumping on an antelope, killing it? All the blood is gruesome scenes, etc." For me, I always sensed it that it's a natural process. It's a carnivore, it's a herbivore. But for me, it was very interesting to see how these animals behave. So like this, after watching this series for a long time, even now I have seen a series called Planet Earth. I don't know how many people have seen Planet Earth. It's awesome series, but the crux for me over there was there are about 8.4 million species of animals or living organisms in our Earth, and all of these species are concentrated on only 4 things. That is Ahara, Nidra, Bhaya, Maituna. Ahara means food, Nidra means sleep, Bhaya means fear or defending oneself, Maituna means establishing a relationship. So, if you take any of these animal species, 8.4 or 8.1 million species of observable animals are all actually doing this. If you go to Sahara, African elephants are fighting with 2 big bulls are fighting to mate against a group of female elephants. Like this, there is a honeybee. You all have honeybee, The male honeybee, the purpose of it is to mate and die. As soon as it comes to prime, it mates in the morning, by evening it's dead. Right? So, if you see, all these million species of lives are against only 4 of the major activities: Ahara, Nidra, Bhaya, Maituna.
Why is Baya included?
Bhaya is defense. Defense is, if you let's say there is a tiger and a cow, do you think the cow will be sitting or sleeping with peace? No, right? It will be in fear. So like this, even the lion or tiger itself, they are in fear of so many things. There may be natural fear, they are fearing against each other. So like this, the entire species of animals are behind this, and this forms the dharma or the natural characteristics for them. Right? Apart from this, animals, they are still microbes, you have fungi, all those things. And if you look at their documentary, even they are also behind this. Nidra, Bhaya, Maituna, in a minute scale. So, if you look at it, there are 8.4 million species of animalistic behavior, plants, etc. And out of that species, there is one species which are human beings. Which, when I say, are similar to animals, are still different. At the same time, we are same, at the same time we are different. Meaning, an animal won't give a lecture on a Sunday evening. Right? An animal doesn't have a mortgage to pay. The animal doesn't want to go for a 9-to-5 job. And animal doesn't need a visa to cross over the boundary of a country. So in a way, we see ourselves to define ourselves to solve a problem. So if you take an animal goes, let's say that lion is there, it catches up its prey food, it eats. Once its tummy is full, it's not bothered. Right? It sleeps. But in case of a man or a human being, we plan for how to curb that particular problem. Okay? Now I have had my nice dinner or lunch. I don't want to have the same problem for next 2 weeks. So let me store some food, let me cook something, etc. We try to solve that problem. Same thing with the health. If you see an animal suffering with a kind of a disease or something, it suffers, but it doesn't take a proactive step to go and see, okay, what caused this problem, what virus was induced this, or what bacteria is induced, let me try to solve this. It is not solving its problem, it just suffers. So this is a unique nature of a human species, unlike an animal species. But just look at the chance. There are 8.4 million species of life, and out of 8.4 million species of life, there is one species of life which is trying out to solve the problems. So that is 1 in 8.4 million species of life.
But there are 8 billion humans on Earth.
I am talking about the species. Okay. So in this regard, Srimad Bhagavatam says, getting a human life is a very, very auspicious and a very, very rare thing. Very rare thing. Now if I say a very rare thing, just like Nikunj pointed out, there are 8 billion people. What's a big deal? Right? What's a big deal? Right? So just to give an estimate, if I say we didn't have a choice of choosing what kind of body we get, okay? We randomly got choice of any life. It can be a tiger, it can be a body of an animal or an elephant or a tree or a microorganisms. So just to give a statistics, on Earth there is an estimated of 5 into 5 nonillion times of bacteria. That is 5 into 10 times 30 is the amount of bacteria it is present in Earth. Right? There is 10 power 19 or 10 quintillion insects which are present on planet Earth right now. There are 3 trillion trees. Okay? There are 3.5 trillion fishes. There are 20 quintillion animals, 50 billion birds. And I am not talking about fungi or all those stuff. I am just giving you a random thing about how many types of animals are there, individual species, etc. And if we look at this, the biomass, like say I weigh about 60 kilos, or an elephant is about 120 kilos, and bacteria is very random thing. So if we put all these masses together, the contribution all 8 billion people are making to that biomass is 0.01%. Okay? Or if you take 8 billion out of a total million species, it is 0.0 followed by 19 zeros and 1. So that is the chance of taking a human birth. Right? So now, if we look at it, our birth as taking as a human being is very rare. Does it make sense? Does it amaze or it's not a yes, Nikunj?
Unless you get the birth of a cow or a bull.
But still that's an animal.
Yeah, but then after you die, you go.
That is a different thing. But right now I am trying to establish, just to show how rare human birth is. So knowing that human birth is rare and knowing that humans have an ability to try to solve the problems of life, unlike animals, makes us a little more advanced species. Agree? Anybody agrees or disagrees? Right? So now, what does Shastras tell about taking a human birth? It is a Hitopadisha, 25th sloka. It says, Ahara nidra bhayamaithunam cha samanyam etat pashubhi naranam dharmo hi tesham adhiko vishesho dharmena hinaha pashubhi samanaha. So what does that mean? Ahara nidra bhayamaithunam cha. These 4 activities which I mentioned, ahara, nidra, bhaya, maithunam cha. These are the 4 activities which is done equally by Pashubir. Pashubir means animal, Narayana means human. So these activities are done both by the animal society as well as the human society. Dharmo hina tesham adhiko vishesha. So basically, what Hitopadesh is telling, ability to follow dharma makes a human being or Naranam species very special. Dharmena hinaha. Hinaha means if you are not following dharma, then you are considered Pashubhi samanaha. So it is considered if a human being without dharma but following ahara, nidra, bhaya, maithuna, that is only hankering for food, eating, sleeping, defending and mating, then the scriptures say that Nara or the human being is Pashubhi Samana, or is an equivalent to an animal.
Then what is the use of the birth?
That is the next slide. Right? So, if at all we are just contemplating on how we are advancing our lives, just to concentrate to develop a quality eating, quality sleeping, quality defense, where I am establishing a house with wonderful, defense mechanisms, all those things, or having a very, intense relationships, maithuna, then what we are doing is, we are not actually at the level of a human being, but we are still at the consciousness of an animal.
Then why, when you do sense gratification, how is it considered as victim? Because you're not having a relationship with another living being.
Sense gratification for what? You want to have a sense gratification for eating a chocolate? That is ahara.
Like, let's say someone is playing a game.
Like you.
How is that considered as Maithuna?
Maithuna doesn't just mean having a relationship with another person. Maithuna means enjoyment of the body using your senses with any material thing. Right? So, there may be a couple who are they're enjoying the time. It doesn't mean it is not related to the souls at all. It is related to the body, and body is just a matter. So anybody enjoying matter in any forms and striving for that matter is Maithuna. Right? So if you are playing on an Xbox, that is Maithuna. Right? So now the scriptures establishes this, that any person whose consciousness is only hankering for ahara, nidra, bhaya, maithuna is a animal or pashudhamma. So scriptures also say that is the nature of an animal, but the nature of an individual jivatma, the natural characteristic of the soul is to serve. Just like how we established a natural characteristic of a sugar is to be sweet, or natural characteristic of a water is to flow, or a tiger is to be aggressive or carnivore, same way the natural characteristic of an individual soul is to serve. The soul wants to serve, nothing else. There is no other characteristic or the behavior of a soul. So now we are having an experiment where we want to serve Krishna, or the natural behavior of a soul is to serve, whereas the human body which we are trapped in, we are trying to hanker for Ahara, Nidra, Bhaya, Maitana. So there is an extreme polarity and we are colliding with each other. So how does this happen? Again, so there is another topic of what we say modes of material nature. If you look at that example, a person who is in the middle is being pulled by 3 ropes. One rope is being red, firehead. One rope is black, pulled by a black personality. One rope is pulled by a yellow personality. These 3 personalities are the modes of material nature which is trying to pull this person to behave in this particular manner. And the water this person is pulled across is pulled across in this cycle of Ahara, Nidra, Bhaya, Maitana, the 2 in different species of life. So, the gap in between our natural characteristic and the existing characteristics is this material nature which is trying to put across, grind us through what you need to enjoy, you do this sense gratification, etc. is modes of material nature. I am not going to discuss about modes of material nature. If we discuss that, that's a big topic, but I just wanted to give a hindsight of how we are stuck in this body and we are always under the influence of modes of material nature to perform an activity in certain manner. So, knowing this, we know that we have got a body and the body has some kind of characteristics. So, like we said, we have a tiger and a cow, and the cow has natural characteristics and the tiger has natural characteristics. Same way, Krishna in this sloka of 335, Krishna is suggesting Arjuna that you follow the Swadharma, your characteristics of an individual body, what you got. Krishna is telling, once we start following that natural characteristics as prescribed by the Shastras, one can achieve perfection. Right? So, based on this, Krishna is telling in chapter 4 about Chaturmanyam Maya Srishtam Gunakarma Vibhagasaha. So, in 4th chapter 13th sloka, Krishna introduces Arjuna to Varnashrama system. The Varnashrama system is a classification of a society based on 4 social orders and 4 spiritual orders. The 4 social orders is basically you have a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Sudra. So what Krishna is telling, if you are trying to follow a birth of human birth as per the scriptures, you should identify your natural characteristics. So based on the natural characteristics, you need to either perform duties of a Brahmana. A Brahmana is an intellectual class of society who read through the scriptures, identify what are supposed to be the prescribed duties of each individual society, each individual person in the society, and they instruct the society in general how to behave. This is the characteristics of a Brahmana. Next, you have a Kshatriya. Kshatriya is a naturally inclined to be an administrator. So if we take our general society framework, we see how we are led by a leader, and the leader tends to frame out different laws of a society, say, okay, you need to work like this, etc. All those things. These are the natural characteristics. So, this natural characteristic of a person who can be an administrator is classified as a Kshatriya. Then you have a Vaishya. A Vaishya is little more less intellectually capable than a Brahmana and a Kshatriya, but Vaishya is characteristically a person who tends to perform business, or I would say activities of sustaining the society, right? So basically, these people tend to grow food, provide milk, take care of the cows, perform agriculture, all these activities. But the last kind of a person is a person who is not intellectually capable, but they need to be given instructions to follow how to behave, and they are very good at physical labor. So these kind of society or sect of people is considered as Sudras. So these four sects, that is Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Sudras, combinedly work together such that the society itself as a whole goes for perfection. So if anybody wants to understand the detailed descriptions or the duties of these Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Sudra, Krishna specifically instructs to Uddhava in Srimad Bhagavatam 11th canto. 11th canto, 17th chapter and 18th chapter, where Krishna instructs Uddhava about how a society needs to behave. So it's basically detailing the duties of a person, how that person in a Brahmana should perform an activity. So linking back to the sloka previously mentioned, if a Brahmana performs that activity as prescribed by Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam, he is not going to incur any sinful sins for himself, and he is naturally going to progress in perfection of human life. Same way, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Sudra. Again in canto 7, there is a discussion between Yudhishthira Maharaja and Narada Muni, where they discuss about this Varnashrama system. So the discussion again, what happens in canto 7 and canto 11 are similar, where both of them give a very good description of how these activities of this particular sect of society needs to perform. It's very interesting to read. When I was reading the purport, it said in Satya Yuga there were no other sect than Brahmanas. The Varnashrama system came only in Treta Yuga. So Treta Yuga becomes a place where actually the Varnashrama system is followed, and in the description of Krishna mentions to Uddhava, he says, whoever performs the activities as mentioned in the scriptures, they are going to establish perfection. Apart from this, he makes a statement. He says, decisiveness, dishonesty, thievery, faithlessness, useless quarrel, lust, anger, and hankering constitutes the nature of the lowest position of a human being, and they are outside Varnashrama system. So, looking at this statement, what Krishna is giving by those people who are having useless quarrels, which is happening in Kali Yuga right now. Somebody, has a seat taken in a bus, they have a fight. Right? Something is posted on X or a Facebook or something, there is a huge discussion, there is a quarrel happening. You are wrong, we are wrong, this is. And there are people, we can see what's the symptoms of Kali Yuga, right? People are triggered by simple things, they get angered. And people are so lusty. When I say lust, it's not just a physical lust. There is, as soon as you see something they want to eat, enjoy, they don't think twice of the consequences, and they go ahead and start having it or enjoying it. Faithlessness. As soon as we say somebody, chant Hare Krishna, Bhagavad Gita is there, God is there, let it be your own religion, Christianity, whatever it is. no, I don't have a faith. No, I don't believe. This has become a trend. This is part of Kali Yuga. So as per Krishna, these set of people who are having these characteristics are itself considered as a lowest position of the Varnashrama Dena, and in fact they are outside Varnashrama Dena. So this is the social status, 4 social sects of the Varnashrama system. Apart from that, there are 4 spiritual sects of the society. So you can be a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Sudra or a Vaishya, but depending on your spiritual qualities, consciousness, and depending upon your age, there are 4 classifications of spiritual progresses. That is Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanaprastha or Sannyasatva. When I say Brahmacharya is a boyhood stage where you are trying to inculcate the knowledge from a guru or a teacher from the childhood, and you develop a staunch understanding of the scriptures. At the same time, the guru who is there would identify your natural characteristic, and based on the natural characteristic, the guru identifies, okay, you can be a fit to be a Kshatriya, Sudra, Brahmana, like this. After you come to age of 11, the student is so fit of knowledge, he is given Brahma Upadesha, that is the Upanayana, at the age of 11. This was the original system. By age of 11, an individual person needs to make a decision whether they are taking a Grihasthashrama or you have to continue the celibacy of Brahmacharya.
Wait, so you got married at the age of
No, decision. Don't be excited. So if at all a student or an individual person wants to get married, they will be trained in Grihasthashrama, where you have taken a responsibility of getting married and taking a family life. And the family life again is not for enjoyment, but for spiritual progress with a companion. The third stage is Vanaprasthashrama. Vanaprasthashrama is basically your body is dwindling, you're getting old age, you're getting sure you are nearing to the death. During this time, depending on whether you are married or not married, you tend to leave your household and you start going for pilgrimage, start acquiring the knowledge and establish yourself for the last stage of your spiritual order, that is Sannyasatva. Sannyasi means a renounced order of life where you would have left everything for any kind of material interest and you dedicate yourself entirely for the service of Krishna. Since the natural affection or natural characteristic of a soul is to serve, by the time you come to Sannyasatva, you should have gained that kind of a characteristic. At the time of death, you go back to Godhead to serve Krishna. So, these 2 aspects of orders, that is the social order and the spiritual order, form the characteristics of Varnashrama, and following that Varnashrama system, one achieves perfection. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna specifically mentions that personalities like Janaka Maharaja. Who is Janaka Maharaja? Anyone? Sita's father. So Sita's father was Janaka Maharaja, and he performed whole and soul of all his activities as prescribed by Varnashrama system, and he achieved perfection and he goes back to God. So Krishna is telling one who performs these activities understand their prescribed duties and doesn't poke their noses in others' activities, they are going to go back to Godhead.
But how is it possible to follow any varna in Kaliuga, like
We'll tell, we'll tell.
being a Brahmana in Kaliuga?
We'll tell. So, there is a famous person, Sir Isaac Newton. Isaac Newton says for every action there is equal and opposite reaction. So same way, if a person follows the prescribed duties, as I mentioned, if the reaction is according to the scriptures, then there is no sin incurred. If the action is against the scriptures, then you have a sinful reaction. So we just want to highlight two stories over here, pastimes. First pastime is Ekalavya, right? So how many of you know Ekalavya? All of you know Ekalavya? No? Okay. So Ekalavya is a character who comes in Mahabharata. He wanted to be an archer, a warrior, similar to Arjuna. But Ekalavya goes to Dronacharya. Dronacharya is Arjuna's guru. But at the first encounter, Dronacharya rejects Ekalavya as a potential disciple. So this Ekalavya, then what he doesn't deter from his affection towards Dronacharya, what he does, he builds a figurine of Dronacharya, as you can see from the figure, and he worships and he starts learning the science or art of archery. Okay? Practice. He learns, he sees things and he starts practicing, he starts listening. So after many years, Dronacharya appears in front of Ekalavya through destiny, and Ekalavya invites him to his kutir or house. And Dronacharya is very astonished to see the figurine of himself, and Ekalavya wants to showcase his skills, right? So he sees. So what he sees, he goes, he hits on the chariot, he starts going and he starts putting arrows, he's killing rabbits, he's killing birds, etc. So just to showcase how well he's expert in his archery skills. Seeing this, Dronacharya is impressed. At the same time, he says, though I have not taught you, since you consider me as a guru, I want a Guru Dakshina. Guru Dakshina is like paying respect back to Guru for his teachings. So Ekalavya says, okay, I am happy to give. What do you want? I want you to cut off your thumb and give it to me. Now Ekalavya doesn't bother. He says, my guru is asking. He takes the arrow or a knife and he cuts off his right thumb and he gives the thumb of his as an offering to Dronacharya. So there are many commentaries given by different people, and they say Dronacharya was a person who is suppressed people, caste, blah blah, all those stuff. But the reason behind this thing was Dronacharya specifically asked Ekalavya, how did you get trained? He says, no, I used to go hunt for rabbits, killing innocent rabbits. Okay? And what do you want from this archery? Why do you want to learn archery? He says, I want to learn archery so that I can sustain my own community, and the community is a family of dacoits. And their only
Family of what, sorry?
dacoits or the robbers. And their only way of living is threatening innocent citizens against the society and robbing them. So after listening this, Dronacharya says, okay, give me your thumb. So many people elevate Ekalavya, but they cannot understand the purpose of behind his intentions of learning archery. But Dronacharya knows that, and to avoid that, he asks this. So here, Ekalavya doesn't understand his prescribed duties, but he wants to learn about archery for his own self-interest against the principles of the Varnashrama system, and for those reasons, Dronacharya wants to give a full stop, end that, and he does that. Second story. I don't know how many of you can notice this. The person sleeping over here behind on the lap is Lord Parashurama, and the person who is sitting is Karna. Right? Karna was born from Kunti Devi, but he had a characteristics of a Sudra. So many people think, oh, just because he was a Sudra family, he was treated like that. No, Karna was a Sudra behavior. His behavior was so much Sudra nature. He didn't know the purpose of the knowledge he got. He wanted to misuse it. The Sudra's characteristics, he needs to be given an instruction to follow. But Karna didn't have that. Karna goes and he learns from Parashurama. And when Parashurama is sitting sleeping on the lap of Karna, there is a scorpion which comes and which bites Karna. Right? And still, Karna doesn't want to disturb his guru, Parashurama, and says, okay, let me not disturb his sleep. But once the blade comes and it disturbs Parashurama, Parashurama sees and he asks the original identity of Karna. And Karna says, no, I wanted to understand the knowledge of fighting, of getting divine weapons. For that reasons I had to hide my identity. Parashurama immediately says, the activity of hiding your original identity for gaining a specific wealth is not a characteristic of a Brahmana. It's not a characteristic of a Kshatriya. It's not a characteristic of a Vaishya. So you are a Sudra. And the characteristics of lying to your guru is worse than a Varnashrama system. For these reasons, he says your most important aspect of your knowledge will not be useful when it is needed. So like this, these two stories, which is a reflection of, and there is one more, in the battlefield itself, when Krishna as a charioteer is guiding through Arjuna, and Karna's chariot is stuck in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. When the chariot is stuck, Arjuna stops for a moment. He says, no, let me not do it. Krishna says, this is a time for you to kill him. No? Why? Arjuna says, no, this is against Dharma. No. He's been an animalistic person. He doesn't need to be treated as an equal Kshatriya. So kill him immediately. Right? So what you can understand from this, in the eyes of Krishna, who is the framework or the lawmaker of the Varnashrama system, Vedeshchaham ahamema vedyo. So he has to be derived from Vedas. He knows actual Vedas. He is the actual essence of Vedas. In the eyes of Krishna, Karna was an abominable person. His conscience was an animalistic person. And he says he deserves to be killed like an animal. Right? So, what is happening over here? Let it be Karna or Ekalavya. Ekalavya to a smaller extent, but Karna in a bigger extent, they were trying to perform an activity which is not prescribed duty for them. So Karna is recognized as a wonderful warrior, excellent archer. But end of the day, he got a death of an animal. So that's the most sinful deaths one can get. Right? So in this way, one who follows, one who doesn't follow their prescribed duties would get, sins are carried out. But once you go through the process of Varnashrama Dharma, identify their own prescribed duties, would eventually get perfection in their lives. Prabhu, can I take another 10 minutes?
You can.
So we discussed about Pashu Dharma, we discussed about Swadharma. So Krishna says, even if you follow Swadharma, so identifying our prescribed duties, once we identify our prescribed duties, follow those prescribed duties, we get the perfection in our lives. So those who want to understand what is the prescribed duties, you can either read scriptures, Bhagavatam 7th canto, Bhagavatam 11th canto, or just by understanding our itihasas. Itihasas is Mahabharata, Ramayana. We can identify our own duties by following the different characters of this Mahabharata or Ramayana. So each person, each of us, you may be a husband, brother, son, father, wife, mother. So if you follow the characters as given in Ramayana or Mahabharata as it is, just like how Rama became a good son by following the instructions given by his father, how Sita Devi followed the instructions of Rama as a wife, like this, if we follow as it is, we are going to work on a prescribed level and we are going to achieve perfection. So lastly, I am going to give this is basically different slokas from Bhagavatam, where different personalities are highlighting how to execute your prescribed duties. But I just want to highlight fourth one. Fourth one is a discussion between Yamadharmaraja and his messengers during the story of Ajamila. Yamadharmaraja is telling, send me those who do not perform their duties towards Vishnu. So basically, Yamadharmaraja is telling those who doesn't follow the duties, prescribed duties, the messengers of Yamadharmaraja are going to come for us. Okay? So the last dharma, what we need to follow is Bhagavata Dharma.
This is what we need to follow.
That is the utmost perfection what we can get.
So,
Okay?
The
There is a story again in Kurukshetra. There is a Kurukshetra on the battlefield. It's an intense battle is happening and nobody is able to defeat Dronacharya. During that time, Krishna comes with an idea. Krishna says, Bhima, go and kill the elephant who is named as Ashwatthama. Right? Because Drona's son is Ashwatthama and Drona is so much attached towards his son that Krishna knows as soon as Dronacharya understands the news of his death of his son, he would leave the battlefield. But Ashwatthama was still alive, and for these reasons Krishna says, go and kill the elephant Ashwatthama. So Bhima goes, kills this elephant called Ashwatthama, and he starts shouting, Ashwatthama hato hataha. He shouts so loudly, Ashwatthama hato hataha, Ashwatthama hato hataha, meaning Ashwatthama is killed. Now Dronacharya is not bewildered. He knows Bhima would lie. So Krishna goes to Yudhishthira and says, Yudhishthira, you go tell to Dronacharya that Ashwatthama Adohata, he has been dead. Now, Yudhishthira, who is considered to be a performer of the highest level of dharma, he says, how can I tell a lie? No, I don't want to deceive Dronacharya in this way. Krishna says, the elephant is dead. The elephant's name is Ashwatthama. So you're not telling a lie. So then Yudhishthira says, then I will say Ashwatthama hato hata kunjaraha. Kunjaraha means elephant. So basically he is telling Ashwatthama the elephant is dead. He does not want to say Ashwatthama the warrior is dead. He wants to say Ashwatthama the elephant is dead. Krishna says, no, don't bother. Just say Ashwatthama hato hata. But Yudhishthira doesn't like it. He says, I cannot tell a lie. So he says Ashwatthama hato hata kunjaraha. When he shouts loudly, Ashwatthama hato hata kunjaraha, kunjaraha, like this. When he is saying kunjaraha, Krishna takes his function, he blows so loudly that Dronacharya cannot listen kunjaraha, meaning the elephant. Right? So as soon as this is said, Dronacharya doesn't listen kunjaraha. He thinks Ashwatthama is dead, and because it is said by Yudhishthira, and he lays down his arms, and Drushtadumna he kills off Dronacharya. Now, as soon as this happens, Yudhishthira's chariot, which is said to be, always levitated, falls down on the ground. Right? So many commentators say because Yudhishthira told a lie, he deceived Dronacharya, the dharma was lost, and because of dharma, the chariot fell down. But the Vaishnava Acharya says that this is not because he told a lie. This is because he did not follow the instructions given by Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna wanted to say only Ashwatthama hato hata, but he did not follow the instruction given by Lord Krishna, and he said Ashwatthama hato hata kunjaraha. So you are basically overruling the instruction given by the Supreme Lord, and because of that he didn't follow the rules of thing. So here Krishna is a Supreme Lord. He understands the purpose of the dharma, and following the dharma one can please Krishna. So Bhagavad Dharma means following the orders given by Supreme Lord. So I will stop here. There are some more pastimes, but I don't want to tell those. But invariably, what I wanted to tell was, as a practicing bhakti yogis, we have to identify our consciousness. From Pashu Dharma, we have to go through Swadharma, understanding our own level of consciousness, and from there we have to elevate ourselves to Bhagavata Dharma. And in Kali Yuga, it is so difficult to follow this Bhagavata Dharma as per the scriptures. So Krishna says, you follow the Yuga Dharma. And Yuga Dharma is chanting the names of the Lord. That is Harinama Sankirtanam. That is chanting loudly, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So with that I will end the class. Time is not there. So other things I wanted to show was Krishna uses Arjuna as a person. If you see the death of Bhishma, Arjuna sidelines himself and he takes help of Shikandi. Arjuna never questions Krishna. He just follows the instructions given by Krishna, and Bhishma is killed. And again, Bhima kills Duryodhana by hitting him on the thigh, which is against the rules of regulations, but it is under the instructions given by Krishna. So like this, instructions given by Krishna, they followed it and they performed it. Again, same with Arjuna. Arjuna kills Karna based on the instruction given by Krishna. Arjuna says, no, in the battlefield it is not right to kill a person who is not having the arms. He says, then Krishna says, no, he is animalistic, you have to kill him. So Arjuna doesn't question Krishna. He accepts Krishna to be the supreme authority, and following his instructions is his dharma. That's why he kills immediately. So, like this, there are two more examples of personalities like Prahalad Maharaj and Jadabharata. If you know the pastimes of Prahalad Maharaj and Jadabharata, they were least bothered about the materialistic performance of duties. It is said in chapter 3:17 that one who takes pleasure in the self, whose human life is one of self-realization, and who is satisfied in the self only, fully satiated, for him there is no duty. It means to say, one whose consciousness is at the state of Bhagavata Dharma, who is always thinking how I need to please Krishna, who keeps their life's goal to please Krishna, for them there is no duty. So the Varnashrama system doesn't apply to them. But Varnashrama system for us is needed to go to the perfection of Bhagavata Dharma. And those two personalities are basically Jadabharata and Prahalad Maharaj. And we can discuss that sometime later. Okay. Hare Krishna. If anybody has any questions, happy to take. Apart from Nikunj. Yes, please.
Do you mind just explaining that last little bit again? Number
17.
317.
Yes.
Is that okay?
So basically, as I said, this is the kind of progression one needs to make in the consciousness. So the least consciousness is Pashu Dharma. Pashu Dharma is trying to behave like an animal. Like we are always thinking about Ahara, Nidra, Bhaya, Mahitana. But now we are in a state, we want to do some self-realization. We have identified ourselves not as an animal, but we have identified as a human, and we say that as a human being, we get a chance to self-realize ourselves. So the process of self-realization can be easily be achieved by following Varnashrama Dharma. Varnashrama Dharma is identifying whether I am a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Sudra or Vaishya, and acting according to that. So that is called as Swadharma. So you need to perform. If you are a Brahmana, you need to perform certain activities. If you are a Kshatriya, you need to perform certain activities. Any activity done against these rules is sinful. Any activity done as per the rules is going to give you perfection. But once you get that perfection, what is that perfection? Is to you achieve the original characteristic of a soul. What is the soul? Is to serve Krishna. So once you get that original characteristic of a soul, that is, I will always serve Krishna in whatever circumstances without any individual agenda. You don't think anything like, okay, I will chant in the morning, later on I will have an ice cream to satisfy my senses. That is all not there. So 24/7, every time, every moment, you are thinking, how can I serve Krishna? So that consciousness is Bhagavata Dharma. Okay? In that consciousness, what Krishna is telling, there is no duty. So there is no duty applies to you. There is no need for you to act as a Brahmana, there is no need for you to act as a Kshatriya. If you are needed, you act as a Sudra or a Kshatriya or a Brahmana if Krishna wills. So that is the highest state.
Yes.
Yes, Nick.
Can you just skip Pashu Dharma and
No, you cannot.
And in Bhagavad Dharma, is there chances of degrading to Swadharma?
No, once you go, you achieve fully as a Bhagavata Dharma, you don't fall down. Okay? Hare Krishna. Krishna Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nita Gopamanande. So we'll have a kid Aarti now. I request all of you to get up. So